Welcome to Brazil's iconic city by the sea, Rio de Janeiro. The GKA is thrilled to land at Rio's renowned break of Saquarema for the second stop of the Pure Wave Kite-Surf World Tour. The world's best kiteboarding athletes are excited to get their first opportunity to compete at this storied spot on Itauna Beach, which has also hosted World Surf League stops. This new location on the Qatar Airways GKA Kite World Tour is capable of serving up all manner of conditions for the kitesurf pros. The long left-hand beach break, bathed by easterly breezes, is a kitesurfer's paradise. But occasionally the spot can prove extremely challenging, even for the world's best, as athletes were to discover over a dramatic 12-day competition window. The opening day, however, was a different story. A perfect easterly breeze and good head-high faces greeted the women who were first out on the water. Wave Tour leader, the US's Muna White, was up first. She was riding her less favoured backside on the peeling lefts. And while the Swiss rider Camille Losserand is no slouch on a surfboard, she was no match for the veteran White. Brazil's Kessiane Rodrigues marked herself out as an up-and-coming force in kitesurfing when she won a tour stop last year in home waters. But in Saquarema she appeared to struggle a little in the tricky offshore breezes. In contrast, Australian-Brazilian Mila Ferreira was also riding backside but looked very comfortable in the conditions and did enough to overpower Rodrigues. White again showed why she's in the driving seat when she came up against Spain's Daniela Moreno. The Spaniard found the conditions tricky and struggled to put numbers on the board, while White chalked up one of the biggest wave scores of the day, 7.20 out of a possible 10. That gave her the win and took her straight to the semifinals. Next, Switzerland's Losserand came up against Brazil's Senena Luz. In the dropping surf and falling offshore breeze, Losserand's flowing style was good enough to ensure that she took the win, and it saw her advance to the semi-finals ahead of Luz. Reigning world champion France's Capucine Delanoy entered the competition late in the day, courtesy of her number one ranking. And the 17-year-old showed why she wears the crown, riding with real commitment against Kessiane Rodrigues. Rodrigues didn't have any answers to the teenager's skill in the waves, and it was the end of the road for the Brazilian. Muna White's semi-final saw her going toe-to-toe with Ferreira, the Australian, who trains in Brazil. For both women, riding backside in the cross-offshore winds was a tricky proposition. White and Ferreira worked the waves for all they were worth, though. White's wave selection was flawless. Ferreira gave a very good account of herself. Unfortunately for Mila Ferreira though, pushing the boundaries proved costly on one occasion when she went down. But it was White's slightly more committed style, the linking of turns and snaps in the critical section of the wave, that saw her squeeze out the win by less than a point.
I think for the final I'm just going to try and get a couple waves and then wait for the good ones, because I didn't really pick the right waves in my last heat and then got a good one after the heat ended. There's definitely some really fun waves, so should be fun.
The second semi-final between Lossaran and Delanoy held lots of promise. Both were clearly up for the fight. With a place in the final at stake, Lossaran had claimed the GKA Big Air Surfboard World title, sweeping aside Delanoy in the final in Tarifa in June and taking away her crown in the process. But in the waves, Delanoy was totally committed. Even in the face of ferocious riding by Lossaran, Delanoy got her revenge and a spot in the final. A match-up against her old foe, Muna White. The race for the third podium spot was a straight contest between Lossaran and Ferreira. And Lossaran came out of the blocks charging hard on every wave for all she was worth. In the end though, it was Ferreira's local knowledge of both the waves and the wind and her set selection of waves that proved the deciding factor. She put a couple of big scores on the board that helped her ease the victory in this mini-final. So the women's final was a repeat of the Wave Tour's opening round in Cape Verde in March. Muna White versus Capucine Delanoy. White opened the scoring with a big wave score, some fluid and linked turns in the pocket of the wave that the judges just loved. After that, both women struggled as the set waves became more and more elusive. Delanoy never quite finding her groove, and her frustration began to show. Ultimately though, it was White's wave selection and powerful style that were the telling factor that gave her back-to-back wins.
So the final was pretty light winds. Throughout the whole day, it was just like a really fast event. We just finished the whole women's event today, and yeah, started with stronger wind and then got kind of lighter and more offshore, but made it happen. I'm super stoked with my result. Yeah, after these two victories, it really makes me want to continue the tour, and I'm already almost halfway there, so yeah. I guess I'm gonna have to keep training for the next event.
Yeah, I really struggled during this final, but Muna did super well. You could really see her experience, like seeing when the waves were gonna be good or not. And yeah, she won and she deserved it.
I haven't been training much, and only surfing, and of course to be in the podium after so long, a lot of time, and without training, I'm very happy. Of course I wanted to win, but I didn't find the good waves, I think I should have done a bit different, but it is what it is, and I'm happy to be here, happy with the third place, happy to see the girls in the water.
The men's contest shifted up a gear when the big hitters got on the water. The young Cape Verdean charger Hendrik Lopez looked like a good bet to sail through on recent form. But he came up against the Brazilian Felipe Ferreira and was defeated and had to fight again in the next round. Italy's Ayrton Cozzolino faced one of Brazil's hottest young kite surfers, Gabriel Benetton. The pair went toe-to-toe, pushing one another on. Benetton smacked the lip hard, milking every wave. But Cozzolino's vertical hacks in the pocket were enough to take the highest score of the day to that point, and the win. Brazil's Pedro Matos comes into the competition as one of the favourites to take the prize on home waters. His adversaries in the three-way heat are another young Cape Verdean hopeful, Kelton Lopez, and Brazilian veteran Alamel Rohe. Both of them give it a go. But Matos had his game face on. He was slaying the waves with an incredible vertical attack. He even managed to chuck in an air reverse that saw him match Cozzolino's earlier high score. Saquarema delivered huge surf on day 2 of the contest. The bombs were crashing on the sandbar and were enough to give many of the athletes pause for thought.
Just today we wake up, but already yesterday night, during the night, I could hear the waves, and this morning it was just kind of super big. Huh? I think I didn't saw someone in the water now, so I can't tell you how big is it, but I think it's bigger than what we think. I think all the riders are scared to go in. You have to be scared. If you are not scared, you are just maybe stupid. But I think we are ready. We have leash, impact vest.
Reunion Island's Charlie Martin quickly showed that he was a man who was up to the challenge. Even as the light breezes made surfing the vast faces a difficult proposition, Martin earned a big 8.6 for one wave and easily took the win over Canada's Reese Myerscough. Cape Verdean Matthew Lopez was another who brought his A game and met the boiling surf head on. Meanwhile, his rivals Breno Barbosa and Gray Foster battled the conditions, losing kites and boards, while Lopez attacked the waves and easily took the heat. Day 3 dawned with slightly smaller waves, but the wind was still a little sketchy. Nevertheless, the riders relished the opportunity to pit their skills against Saquarema's break.
Let's go inside the water to give the guys a little bit motivation, so I think we can ride, we can do the competition. So yeah, I think the heat will be on, the competition will be on. Let's go! On, baby!
Multi-talented Frenchman Clement Rosero came out firing. Even in the demanding conditions, he pushed the limits and managed to land 2 strong wave scores that were sufficient to end the run of the South African Matt Maxwell. The contest had just got serious, with no more second chances for some. Cape Verdean Hendrik Lopez was another of those who mastered the tough conditions with deceptive ease. On a wave that he destroyed with 3 big vertical hacks, he impressed the judges and netted an 8.23 to take his heat total to 13.86. If Saquarema had served up bombs before, on day 4 it delivered monsters. Some of the biggest swells to hit this stretch of coastline in years. Fortunately, the wind came with it. The competition was truly on.
I think this is the gnarliest competition we ever had. The waves are huge and yeah, it's scary. I think the one that has the biggest ball is gonna get it for sure.
It's kind of like epic to have like a kite competition on these conditions. The wind is pumping. I'm thinking about like going with a 9-meter kite. So yeah, let's go in the water and try to get a barrel because there are some good ones out there.
The Brazilian Gabriel Benetton went head-to-head with the US's Gray Foster. While Benetton seized the challenge and put some good scores on the board, Foster was struggling to get to grips with the conditions, and that sealed the American's fate and ended his run in this competition.
Big. It's like the craziest conditions I've ever been out. But now it's starting to clean up, I think, because of the offshore. It's so good. I'm so happy.
In the Battle of the Cape Verdeans, Matthew Lopez continued his march up the ladder at the expense of his namesake, Kelton Lopez. Matthew was fearless and utterly relentless on the triple head-high faces. He earned himself a big heat score that secured his place in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I was going so fast. I couldn't put from left to right. There's also a lot of bumps. It's really insane out there. You have no idea.
Sketchy, it's sketchy, but that's what makes this event so special, you know? When it's like hard like this, wild, I think the craziest guy gonna win. And I think I have that craziness inside me, you know? And my first hit I was playing safe, try to don't break boards, try to like my kite safe, you know? So next round for sure I'm gonna push it harder because harder hits is gonna come in my way.
If the heats did get harder for Cozzolino, it didn't seem to show. He was up against the Brazilian Igor Pestana, and Cozzolino carved lines in the white water of the massive faces. He seemed to navigate the sometimes chaotic break with ease. He snapped off the lip at will and gave himself an 8.37 wave score in the process. The heat between the Brazilians Sebastian Ribeiro and Felipe Ferreira was so evenly matched, the judges had to review their scoring. In the end, it was Ribeiro who edged it by a whisker. For all their collective promise, neither Charlie Martin or Hendrik Lopez could quite find the sweet spot in their quarterfinal, but it was Martin who lived to fight again in the semi-final, doing just enough to get his nose in front and take the win. In the other quarterfinal, Matthew Lopez ended the dreams of Gabriel Benetton. The young Brazilian simply couldn't match Lopez, who pulled in an 8.4 and 7.17 score for his stellar riding that defied the intimidating conditions. The matchup of Ayrton Cozzolino and Sebastian Ribeiro in the first semi-final suggested fireworks. And Cozzolino opened his account with a big 7.53 and then topped it with a solid wave score. In his attempt to answer back, Ribeiro sailed too close to the wind and was eaten by a huge wave. It was the nail in the coffin for Sebastian Ribeiro. In the second semi-final, Matthew Lopez faced down Charlie Martin. Martin still held the highest wave score of the competition and opened with a couple of big hacks. But in the face of Lopez's onslaught, where the Cape Verdean picked all of his waves perfectly, Martin was unable to match the maestro's composure, as displayed, unfortunately, here.
It's a good rematch because in Cabo Verde it knocked me out on the first hit, you know?
The party is just starting now. We're gonna put the show on. If you're home, grab your freaking best drink and have a seat and enjoy.
So the face-off between the Cape Verdean friends and rivals, Ayrton Cozzolino and Matthew Lopez. In the mouth-watering 16-minute heat, both came out charging. Determined to leave nothing on the table, Lopez opened with a banger that took 7.2 from the judges. But Cozzolino came back swinging, taking two 6+ waves before he too had a 7.1 in the bag. He followed that up with a 7.83. But Lopez was having none of it and nailed an 8.07, followed by an 8.66 as he slashed wave after monstrous wave and rode with just that little bit more verticality. With the clock counting down, Lopez closed out the competition with a perfect 10. He stalled, cut in for a barrel and claimed a cover-up as his victory lap. It was a fitting and, quite frankly, incredible celebration.
Coming to Brazil, Saquarema, with a win and get here with great conditions, perfect waves, pretty crazy, good riding from everybody, taking the win, especially going to the final with Ayrton, a guy who is a lot of experience and he's really good, super technical. He puts the thing on and it feels amazing to take a win. It makes me start to think a little bit about titles, which is amazing. Still a long way to go, still a lot of things can happen, but I'm absolutely happy. Can't even describe. Thanks for everybody who made this happen. Thanks for you that was watching at home, and let's go for the next one.
I mean, I'm pretty stoked at my performance, you know. I was like pretty sure I could win this event. I was like, my goals was to win this event, you know, and I did everything I could to arrive where I am now. But then Macho did the best, you know. He found a barrel, and I didn't see it, but they say it was a perfect 10.
End of another competition, it feels good to be on the podium. Of course, we train for winnings, but being the podium it's good. It's good points that we score for the end of the ranking. And the conditions today were really extreme. I think everyone pushed their limits. I was totally out of my comfort zone.
So in the end of the day, it was a good day. I'm super happy with my result, and let's keep focused for the next one.
Saquarema lived up to expectations and delivered truly epic conditions. It was one for the history books, but it was touch and go for a time whether it would all work out, even with the long holding period. The US's Moona White got the job done on the opening day in perfect conditions. With back-to-back crowns, 2 stops into the scheduled 5-stop Kite-Surf World Tour, the American is on track to lift the world title, but there's still a long way to go and anything could happen. Spain's Lopez now finds himself in the same position, going 2 for 2. He's shown he's the man to beat right now, even as conditions switch from his favourite rights of Cape Verde to the left-hand bombs of Saquarema. Next up comes the North Sea in summer at Sylt in Germany, followed by the desert setting of Morocco's Dakhla. Join us again to see how it all plays out.